Welcome guys to this channel again. Like I always say, we're here to talk about Africa and the growth of Africa, which is very important for the African people, and that is basically what we will be talking about on this channel. So today I'm still on the EU, because these are the colonial masters, and I'm still on them because basically the EU is thoroughly engaged in Africa today. And all those engagement in Africa today, it is not because they want to elevate Africa from poverty. That is far from it, So the reason being, let me just cut it short. Most of the reason being these EU and Western countries are engaging in Africa today, it is to counter certain nations across the globe that are actually really ready to get Africa out of poverty and then do business with Africa. That is one of the major goals for some of these countries. And these countries that are actually ready to do business with Africa, if you check on the Western media, like always say BBC, CNN, these are dictators, countries like China. China is not perfect, absolute, but I could tell anyone today that is watching this podcast that China is not perfect, but they are ready to do business with Africa, because Africa should start doing business with countries that the business is about win-win. You win, I win. But Africa should not engage in doing business with nations that they only win. That is the problem with Africa. So let me dive in here. I'm going to put up a picture and a short video on the screen so you guys could watch and then see. And the photo you are seeing there, it's the president of Sierra Leone, and then the EU foreign policy chief, Joseph Borrell. That is the foreign policy chief for the whole of entire Europe, the European Union, the member state. The guy you see there, Joseph Borrell, is the one that recently said the rest of the world is a jungle and Europe is the garden.
Europe is a garden. We have built a garden. The rest of the world, and you know very well, Federica, is not exactly a garden. The rest of the world, most of the rest of the world is a jungle. And the jungle could invade the garden. And the gardeners should take care of it. The jungle has a strong growth capacity, and the wall will never be high enough in order to protect the garden. The gardeners have to go to the jungle.
Okay, and that Africa is an easy catch. So my question to this photo that you guys are seeing on this screen. So I ask myself, are these leaders, these of our leaders in Africa, do they listen news, or do they listen to these guys, what they are saying about Africa? Do they? I don't think so, because I'm just a common guy, a commoner, focus every day searching for news across the globe to share to my African people, So if imagine this is the foreign policy chief for the EU member state. So if the foreign policy chief already saying the rest of the world is a jungle and Europe is the garden, so what our leaders are doing in Brussels? Because when I look at the president of Sierra Leone right now, He might not mean bad for Sierra Leone. He's actually very serious, trying to engage with other powers how to develop Sierra Leone and across Africa. But how could someone who is the foreign policy chief making such a statement that Africa is easy catch and the rest of the world is a jungle, Europe is the garden? So guys, tell me, his foreign policy, how is it going to be? Is it about developing Africa or about putting Africa down all the way? I'll let you guys to answer this question for me. And I urge you guys to subscribe to this channel and like the video, because these are not news that these people want to see, or they don't even want to hear this, you know. So I wonder, no disrespect to the president of Sierra Leone, Dr. Julius Maada Bio. He's engaging, doing well for Sierra Leone. But I really hope that whatever deal Sierra Leone and the EU are cracking down, it should be win-win, not win-lose. And when it comes to lose, who is going to lose? Only Sierra Leone will lose, you know. So that is the statement of the foreign policy, that Africa is an easy catch. So what is that? Okay, so, and then I'm going to give you guys an assignment. If you live in Sierra Leone, like I always say, you know, the EU is in no place to elevate Africa from poverty, because these people are the colonial masters. This relationship has been existing for thousands of years, or many decades, you know. But until today, Africa is still trying to rise up, but we are not. Because why? These foreign powers, the EU, United States, they are holding us, Africa, on the ground. Because if we rise to fame, if we rise up, then they no longer have control over us. And the control is these IMF, World Bank. These are the evil organizations on earth today. These are the organizations that are holding Africa down, you know. So if you check in Sierra Leone today, what I'm telling you right now, if it's not true, never watch this channel again. All the engagement right now in Sierra Leone, the EU engagement in Sierra Leone, is about cocoa coffee. Check it right now and put it on the comment section below. If the EU right now is not engaging in cocoa coffee farming in Sierra Leone, never watch this channel. That means I'm not giving an update broadcast, you know, because that is what they want in Europe, an export crop that they need, like cocoa coffee and timber. Yeah, if you see that right now, if you guys, I'm talking to Sierra Leone right now, if you guys are in Sierra Leone and then check, do your findings well, and come back, post that picture. If just take a photo of the EU cocoa farming or whatever, for whatever place in Sierra Leone, post it on the comment section below. Then you know what I'm talking about, you know. So there are so many things. If EU want to develop Africa or change the lives of Africans, there are so many things. They have the power, they know how to do it, but they will not do it. Okay. And then you're talking about the EU is engaging in Sierra Leone about the right of women, women's right. No, women in Africa knows their tradition. Women in Africa are respected. Africa and Europe, we are two different continents in two different traditions, two different values. So, but if our African leaders allowing these EU powers going to Africa, engaging our sisters, wives, children, these women, in the name of women's rights, empowering women, Africa, we can also empower women. They know their right. They are respected all across Africa. But if the leadership of Africa is allowing the EU to engage these women about empowering women, the empower simply means these are they are designing these women for regime change for tomorrow. Because all this money they are giving to African countries, and then if they tell you what to do and then you refuse, they bring those women because they've already empowered them. So those women will rise up against you because they will find every ways and means to engage those women to create unrest and your government ungovernable, or the country ungovernable. So that is the main purpose of this women empowerment in Africa. If you want to empower women in Africa, the so-called EU, you can create jobs. There are so many things. Those women right now, you guys, the EU is engaging right now, empowering them. If you ask them right now, they are not interested in that empowerment. They need something else. Empower them, you understand? Business, factories. There are so many things they are lacking of. And then you are engaging them in empowerment, and then the government is looking at that, is seeing that. What is that? So it's just a concern. So my concern or my advice to the leadership of Sierra Leone, whatever deal, and across Africa, whatever deal you engage with the EU, please, the leaders of Africa, it should be a win-win. Because you can't be in a relationship with a particular person or a partner. It's only the partner winning, you're not winning. So you have to divorce from this relationship and look for new partners. That is why right now you see Russia and China engaging the world, Africa, coming out, you understand? Because these are countries that are actually trying to empower Africa. They are trying to engage Africa in trade. But if you listen to CNN, these are dictator leaders. So, because that is why you see all this rush. You see the EU, America, even they are rushing right into Africa to counter Russia and China. But my brothers and sisters in Africa, let me tell you, okay, Russia and China, they are not a perfect nation. They are not perfect nations, but they are actually nations for business. They want to do business with Africa, and it could be win-win. So that is why America, the European Union, and some other part of the West are trying to counter these countries. Let me give you an example. The trade summit that recently took place in America with Africa and US trade summit, you know, this is just it's a logical thing. You know, you guys look at this. The trade summit, the budget was $55 billion trade. And then check the whole of Africa. We have 55 countries in Africa. So divide that money. So each country is going to get 1 billion. So you see, and that money they are giving to Africa, if they will ever give to Africa, I don't know. It's not because of business, because they want to counter these countries and engage in Africa fake, as if we are ready for business. But trust me, they are not ready for business. It's just a countermeasure they are trying to put against Russia and China. Okay, and then let's take a look at let me see what I can find here and see. Okay, and then you check out the war in Ukraine today. It's just a year, little bit days, you know, like to a year now. You understand, the war is like a year now. Okay, when you check the amount of money the United States and the EU sent into Ukraine, it's over $150 billion. So what is their interest? Is it business or war? Guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. That is the problem. Because if a country is spending, these guys, so-called liberators of Africa, spending so much money to support war. But to trade with Africa, it's 55 billion, and it's 55 countries in Africa. What is that tell? What is that telling you? It's no good sign. So if Africa, the leaders, continue this relationship with the West, it's not going to be good for Africa. We will forever remain down. So, so this was a very good example that Mali and Burkina Faso, when I saw them, they kicked the French troops, the Foreign Legion, out of Mali. Because they are not there for any purpose. They are just there to, in the name of support, or to protect the Malian or the Burkina Faso people, you understand? But that is not the reason, So when you look at things like that, and then you see the French troops in Burkina Faso and Mali. So at first, when these guys took power from the civilian government, I was mad actually, because I'm this person, I don't like a junta regime, but when you look at what is going on, it's the same thing in Guinea Conakry, because all these leaders, everything they engage in with the Western powers, you understand, the leaders, we don't know if they are only the one profiting, and then we, the citizens of Africa, we don't know what is going on, so we keep complaining. We are not coming out of poverty, but if you check these leaders, you understand, most of them, majority of them, you understand, they have their children, their family living abroad, because this system benefits them, so this too much engagement, Africa and Western powers, especially the EU and the United States, it is not a win-win relationship. It's never going to be. So it's high time Africa divorce itself from these people and engage with partners that are ready to do business with Africans in Africa. So we as Africans could be proud of our nation, because we are the most underrated race today in Africa, So let's go again to the Ukraine war. This is just a real example, like the ambassador to the United Nations, the United States ambassador to United Nations, this woman Linda Greenfield, if that's her name. You see, when the war is going on in Ukraine, the conflict between Ukraine and Russia, you see this woman had a black woman being sent to Africa to threaten the leaders of Africa that they should pick a side. They should not support Russia. They should not do business with Russia. Can you imagine that? Africa has no business with the war that is going on in Europe. That is not our war. That is their war. So why would you come to Africa? Instead of you come to Africa and engage these leaders and tell them, no, we want to do business with you guys. Let's engage in a good partnership and see how we could develop Africa. No, but that was not the goal. And then you came to Africa threatening the people that there will be consequence for that if Africa engage with Russia or even China, because right now the next move right now is China. That is a inevitable war, because America wants the war with China, all in the name of, because China already surpassed the United States. So the only way to counter China or to bring China down, break China's economy down, is by waging a war. And they want to wage war with China through Taiwan. I'm coming to something very interesting, because Africa should also take her time, because all this fight is going to be just to counter and control the whole world, which you cannot. How could you, just like America and the EU, the European Union, want to control the whole of Africa and the rest of the world, wherein we have different traditions, we have different cultures, different upbringing, different food. We don't do the same thing. So how could you control someone that you don't know their upbringing, you don't know their background, and then you want to impose your own culture, tradition, ruling on these people? How is that possible my viewers, you understand. Let me know in the comment section below. Let's debate, because these are the things that are affecting Africa, but the leaders are not doing anything to counter these things. It's just like, for example, this is going out to the Kenyan people, because I am just hitting on things all over that is in my head about Africa and the EU or Western powers, you understand. It's just like, this is for the Kenyan people right now. When Obama was the president of United States, we are in many Africans, people thinking we are so happy, oh, black man is ruling the United States. No, he was not a black man ruling the United States. That guy was a white man with a very different mentality, you understand. He was not an African, he's not even an African, because a true African man, will not go to Africa and stand in Kenya with the former president Uhuru Kenyatta, trying to engage the nation to adopt the style of homosexuality. I'm not against them, because everyone could do. You have different people. You can decide your own sex life. That is their problem. So I'm just trying to say, in Africa we have traditions. How could you, as a Kenyan African American, because I don't think there is any African American all across the world. There is no African American. You are either American or an African. So there is no two African American or African European. No, you are African or you are European or an American. So that is because we are missing that information, especially those that live abroad and in the diaspora. Those who think they were born in America, they forgot that they were taken as slaves there. So they are lost. They are lost child, So that is how I call them. They are lost. So they don't know where they are, because these people were taken to America and these places without any identification, without no document. So how are you going to bring them back to Africa when they have no identification? So you give them passport just to run around, you understand? And by the little mistake, whatever mistake they do, you just grab them, put them in prison. That is why the whole world in America, they have the highest prison. They have the highest prisoners in America, So these guys are not American. So they are just making fool of themselves, like, oh, I'm an African American. My brothers and sisters, there is no African American. You are either African or American or British. As long as you carry my skin color, you are not an American or British. So let's go to business, So if Barack Obama going to Kenya, telling the people right in front of the former president Uhuru, and then saying they should have things like that, homosexuality in whatever in their society. What is that telling you? What is that telling you? Is that an African man trying to impose their own will? You understand? In Africa. Because it is not about human right. It is not about human right. It is about culture, tradition. That is not a tradition in Africa. Let's put it this way. Let's turn it around. In various parts of Africa, many countries in Africa, men are having the right to get 2 wives, some 3 wives. So let's say today, African, with the leaders of Africa telling the European powers and American power, okay, so if you guys are telling us to adopt this system of homosexuality in Africa, so why can't we as well, you understand, you guys as well, adopt our own system, the African system we are in? We could marry, you understand, 2 or 3 white women at the same time in America or Europe or any part across Europe and America. So if you guys are saying we should adopt your own system, then adopt our own system as well, they will never accept that. So if it's not good for you, why do you think it's good for me? So we should ask ourselves this question. So when I see, if any African man is watching me right now when I'm talking about homosexuality, I'm not against you. But you should know that in Africa we have traditions that does not accept such practice. So if you know you're that person, you understand, you could just keep quiet, you understand, and live your life. So stop talking, stop criticizing the African community, African leaders who are speaking against this, because it is tradition. It is not about human right. So I was so happy when this dangerous woman in CNN, Christiana Mampo, because now these are some of the dangerous people, you understand, manipulating leaders in Africa. When even before Ruto becoming the president, you understand, because Uhuru Kenyatta already answered that question with CNN before, and then the moment Ruto became the president, and then Amampo asking Ruto the same question again: are you still? What do you think about this homosexuality in Africa or in Kenya? And the answer Ruto gave to him was very accurate. He said, the former president already answered that question. So there is no change. It's going to be the same. So when you look at these things, so it's so difficult for the leaders of Africa, you understand, not to engage these guys for win-win relationship. It's every time one is losing, and the only one who is losing, it's Africa. It's losing. So let's come to the last segment of this podcast. We talk about the U.S. troop all across Africa, and as a savior, because I don't know if Africa, we don't have men. Again, we don't have capable men, capable army to protect the people of Africa. And therefore, we have to bring foreign troops, these leaders. I don't know. Let me know in the comment section below again, because everything I'm talking here, I'm not a professional. I'm just thinking aloud and analyze things in my head. If it is right, or if it's right for African leaders to bring foreign troops as security in Africa, when we have capable men in Africa, we have strong men, because we Africans, we are very strong people, you understand, that if you give them the right equipment, the right training, the right education, they could do whatever these guys are doing, and the danger of these foreign troops in Africa, especially the U.S. troop and everything. I'm just thinking aloud. I'm not saying this is it, you understand. But if any expert, you understand, is listening to me, and then maybe you know what I mean. So what if this U.S. army, these foreign troops in America, coming from America across Europe, let me say, for example, they abuse your sisters or our sisters, wives, girl child, sexually. Do you think your government will prosecute them? It's just a question, because these are the questions we should be asking ourselves. Do you think your government is going to prosecute them? No. Because maybe this is an agreement between your government and these powers that if such thing occur in the future, you should not prosecute them. It's like that. So these are some of the dangers, you understand. I'm not saying it's happening. I'm just saying, let's just think aloud. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. But let us just say, we have capable men who are Africans, you understand. They are well trained, you understand. It just the only thing they need, give them the right equipment to do the job. Trust me, they will do these things. But you bringing these, our leaders, bringing foreign troops overseas to come and protect Africa. How many are they? Maybe the highest number sometimes, these troops in Africa, 1,000, 150,000. No, look at me talking 150,000, 1,000, 2,000, maybe 500, 600. So how could 1,000 men protect a country like, for example, Sierra Leone, which is the smallest population, I guess, it's like 7 million people, or Gambia? Or how could 1,000 men protect the people of Kenya, who are like million, or maybe 140 or 140 million people, or 40 million people in Kenya, or Nigeria? So how could 1,000 men protect the whole nation when we have millions of men in Africa that the government could engage and give them the right equipment, right training and education to protect citizens? So when you look at all these things, they are in Africa to protect Africa. Do you think all these wars that are happening in Africa, these terrorist attacks, do you think it has anything to do with Africa? No. Boko Haram in Nigeria, it has nothing to do with Nigeria. Look at most of the weapon being supplied from America to Ukraine is showing up in the market in Nigeria with the Boko Haram. Do you think all these things have to do with Nigerians? No. These are sponsored terrorist groups that are there to destroy and put Africa down, because these are the things the Western powers want. That is why I always say, I'm saying the African leaders, the politicians, government, or whatever, they should engage in dialogue with these opposition parties, leaders. They should come together. They should have one foreign policy, because by dividing yourself, these are the things, these Western powers, they always want Africa to be divided. They always want conflict among parties. So if we in Africa try to engage ourselves and have a meeting that does not include EU or America, it is meeting between Africans and Africans. This will help Africa. It will help Africa. But we accepting EU, we have a conflict, political parties have a conflict, and then you invite Western powers or foreign powers, especially from different continents, to come and engage your opposition. What are you thinking? They are the ones setting the fire. So when you have problems among yourselves, engage in dialogue, especially the ruling government. Engage these people, get peace, get together, and then you can rule, you can control or develop one nation. But you being in division, it's never going to solve Africa's problem. So these are the things Africa, we need to look at. Take an example again, the war in Sierra Leone, the Blood Diamond. You think that war has anything to do with Foday Sankoh or Charles Taylor? No. Charles Taylor was just the visible face of the war in Sierra Leone and Liberia, but it was a sponsored war. How many of we know this in Africa? All we think in Africa, these wars, especially countries that war has been devastating there, like countries like Rwanda as well, Sierra Leone, all these countries. Do you think all these wars that are happening across Africa, it has anything to do with Africans, or it has anything to do with Rwanda or Paul Kagame? No. These are sponsored war from another continent. And therefore, we have to engage ourselves and solve our own problem. And Africa should have the right to choose its own future and choose business partners. But if African leaders are trying to choose business partners, and then you are trying to impose your will that they should not do business with it, they should do business with you. What is that? And then you are calling African leaders dictators. So who is the dictator here? And lastly, this is the most important thing here. Let me talk about this one. This is just thinking. I'm not an expert. I'm not an economist or finance manager or whatever. But this is just what I just think. I'm just thinking about this aloud, And let me see what I can. Let me just bring an example. Let me see. I want to know what you guys think in the comment section below there, so we engage in this, so we will debate about this. So we are talking about the global reserve currency, because this is the biggest scam that is affecting Africa, because like the IMF, the World Bank, these are the most evil organizations in the world, and these particular organizations, these bodies are being designed to bring Africa down. Because why? Africa is always begging money from IMF and World Bank or America. Let me say this. And then if the gold was a reserve currency, the petrodollar, for example, if the gold was the reserve currency, I don't think the Western powers will be giving free money to Africa. I don't think so. Because the gold is not something you can print in a machine. You have to look for gold. You have to mine gold, just like the diamonds. These are very expensive minerals. It's really difficult to find gold or look for diamond. So gold is not the global reserve currency. So the dollar becomes the reserve currency. Guys, let me know what you think. This is just a logical thinking, because this is a scam. And the dollar is owned by America. Okay, that is the American dollar, the global reserve currency. And then they are giving billions of billions outside. And then every day I listen to Western media, BBC, CNN, and then they're saying, oh, America is in debt. America is in debt. America owes a lot of debt, you understand? So my question is to you guys. I want to know this in the comment section below. Who America owes? That is my question. Because this dollar we are talking about, it's their money, the global reserve currency, which they could easily print. Guys, let me know what you think. If you are smart enough, guys, you know, wisdom, just think. The global reserve currency is the United States dollar. So how could America owe a bank or a particular organization when this money, it's their national currency, it's their money, which they could print? Then let's put it this way again. Even if America owes debt to whatever organization and everything, they are never going to pay that. So even if they are going to pay, they will just print it and give it back. Who will stop America to print their own dollars or their own money? Nobody, because it is their money. So let's come to IMF and the World Bank. When IMF is giving Africa loans, this money, this billion, and then they say, let's say you give this, let's take an example, this 55 billion trade summit. Let's say IMF loan this money to Africa, 55 billion with an interest. Okay, how much money, how much interest, let me put it this way, would you give IMF that IMF could not print for itself? Guys, let's think. You know, so you know, this is very technical when it comes to this financial system. The financial system of Africa, I'm going to talk about that in another video, because Africa has to become a single mother. Because if Africa could not become a single mother, man, we're in trouble. So guys, subscribe to this video, this channel, and like the video. So, you know, technically, let's talk about this. This dollar is United States money. It's their money. So who are they owing? Who are they going to pay this money to? This dollar we are talking about every day, because I listen to news every 247. I'm watching news, searching information. So America is $1 trillion in debt. Who are they going to pay? When, if even they are going to pay a particular company organization, it's their money. They could not print this money and give to them. So who are these? Who are the owners of this debt? You understand? And then you talk about the IMF. How much interest would you give to IMF that they could not print for themselves? Or how much money, if America gives you loan, how much money will America give you, and then how much interest you will give back to America that they will not print for themselves? This is a scam. This is a scam for Africa. So these leaders that are taking this printed money, is the same thing goes to the EU, the European Union, because they have this system. They have a particular fund they give to a member state in Europe. They call the slush fund, the EU slush fund. You know, it's the same thing. Is this not a scam? Guys, let me know in the comment section below, because I've never worked in a bank. I'm not an accountant. I'm not an economist. But I'm just thinking, this money we are taking, loans. How much interest would we pay these guys that they could not print for themselves? So I'm going to talk about the financial system. If Africa, let me put this question to you guys. Let me know in the comment section below. Should Africa as a continent have its own financial system? Let me know, guys. Okay, guys, the last statement I'm going to make that is very dangerous. I was thinking about this. Just like I said, I'm not an expert, and I'm not constructive in whatever I'm doing here. I'm just thinking aloud. Guys, I'm going to put it up again, and on the screen, you watch this map and see. Look at China. Take a look at China. And then take a look at Taiwan. It's one country. Even the United States, it's in their State Department website, the one China policy. Let's take a look at that. Okay. But today, America is engaged in the one China policy. Okay. But we all know that they want Taiwan to divorce itself from China to become a country on its own. Okay, see the danger. Then take a look at Africa. Look at the map of Africa. Down to the south, we have a small island there. I'm just thinking aloud, guys. So Africa, we have to take our time. If America is trying to take Taiwan out of China, the island, then take a look at Africa. Down to the south there, you see the small island there. So what is the guarantee that one day these Western powers, these Western leaders will not take that island, say that island is not part of Africa? I'm just thinking aloud. When you look at the map of China and then you look at the map of Africa and then you see the island down to the south there, what is it? What is the possibility? Because when Africa will start to divorce itself from these powers, that is when they will become aggressive, thinking about evil practice, evil things. So the leaders of Africa, take a look at that island. I don't know the name of which country is that or whatever, but it's down there close to the south, something, a small island. It's Africa. We all know that, you understand. So what is the possibility that one day they will not try to do something what they are doing right now in Taiwan? Take note. So this is where I will stop for now, and then whatever is going on, I will search and see whatever that is bad for Africa. I'll bring it up, you understand, and then we discuss. So guys, subscribe to this channel and then like the video and then share it across all social media. Share across all social media in Africa, because the purpose of this channel is, my target group is Africa, because Africa, we don't get the best when it comes to news. So that is why I'm not an expert in reading news, but I'm just taking here, and then put it to one so that people in Africa could understand exactly what is going on. So subscribe to the video, the channel, and then like the video and share it all across Africa and beyond, so we know. And if you get anything that I don't know, whatever I'm saying here, if I make a mistake, you have right to correct me, and then the email is on the description below. You can email me or write on the comment section below. So I'm not an expert, so let me know, guys, what you think about all that I've said. So I'll bring you with more details as they come. Thank you, guys.